If you needed $700,000 30 years from now to pay for someone to take care of you, how would you pay for it? We're living longer these days, but we're not necessarily spending these years in the best of our health. Medical advances have enabled doctors to treat illnesses that used to be considered terminal. But people can now live for long periods of time with heart problems, diabetes, and cancer, when in the past, these diseases usually meant a shorter life. So whether you believe it could happen to you or not, the fact is, you could live for some time with chronic illness or needing assistance. We should, therefore, have a plan in place in the event something happens. It's a fact of life. As we age, our bodies wear down, and ultimately, we may need assistance for our normal activities of daily living. Sometimes people can no longer live independently, especially if their physical needs are great or they have a worsening cognitive impairment. And while most people will be covered by their health insurance for Medicare or short-term health care, long-term health care is usually an uncovered medical expense. Living a long life is a real possibility, and options for paying for long-term care expenses are limited. Therefore, planning for it is a necessity. Long-term care as well isn't only about you. It's very much about your family. One way or another, you will be taken care of. But the biggest impact will be on your spouse or other family members, for they may be the ones providing you with the care you need. If you have family, they will likely take care of you. But the question is what providing that care could do to your family emotionally and financially. Most people who need custodial care are cared for by their family members. This is often because most people have no other options and they must rely on their families. Caregiving can be very stressful, and often the burden falls on one or two of the closest family members. Caregivers may suffer from physical, emotional, and financial problems as a result of giving care. Societal changes are contributing to the need for long-term care planning. While in the past, daughters or daughters-in-law were expected to take care of aging parents, and it's more common today, though, for women to have careers and families of their own, which makes them unavailable for caregiving. Families today have fewer adult children, and they tend to live farther apart, often out of state. And even if a family is willing to take on the responsibility of caregiving, do they have the necessary skills or experience? Can they bear the physical and emotional demands of providing long-term care? Which family members would you turn to if you needed care? And have you even discussed this issue with them? Long-term care may be needed when you are unable to perform certain activities of daily living due to physical incapacity or severe cognitive impairment. People who need long-term care are not receiving skilled care in a hospital. Non-medical personnel may be providing the care, although it can be provided by skilled caregivers. They need custodial care, usually in their homes and sometimes in a facility. Keep in mind that the need for long-term care can happen to anyone at any age. For example, accidents, like a car accident, a motorcycle or diving accident, can put even young people into long-term care. Such accidents can cause a person to require care for a substantial length of time. Activities of daily living are also known as ADLs. Think of the first 6 things you do when you wake up in the morning. Transferring, which is the ability to get in or out of a bed or a chair without assistance. Toileting, continence, bathing, dressing, and eating. When a person needs assistance with just 2 of these 6, they are considered to need long-term care. Most of us take ADLs for granted as we aren't in good health. But think of what would happen if you were in a car accident, for example, or fell and fractured a hip. What if you were unable to bathe or dress yourself or get in and out of bed? Where would you turn for help? Additionally, cognitive impairment such as dementia, senility, and Alzheimer's disease can lead to the need for assistance and custodial care. These conditions include loss of memory, orientation, or reasoning. Again, the perception is that most people will go to a nursing home for long-term care, and the reality is that most people receive their care at home because that is their preference. Wouldn't you agree that no one wants to actually live in a nursing home? And in addition to home care, many people receive care during the day in assisted living facilities and adult daycare centers where they still live at home. So you have to ask yourself, where would you want to receive care if you were to need it? So let's explore these options for paying for long-term care. You may actually be surprised to learn that some options are very limited. Do you believe that government programs such as Medicare will cover long-term care expenses? Medicare pays for skilled and rehab care only. And in order to qualify for Medicare's limited long-term care policy benefits, you must first be hospitalized for a minimum of 3 nights. Then you must be sent to a skilled nursing facility for rehabilitation, and you must be expected to recuperate. If you meet these criteria, Medicare will pay your expenses completely for days 1 to 20. For days 21 to 100, you must pay approximately $160 per day. But after those 100 days, Medicare will not pay any more. And more importantly, you need to know that Medicare does not pay for custodial care at all. You may also believe that military veterans can receive unlimited, free long-term care from the government, but only limited care is available. There are a few VA nursing home facilities, and veterans who require long-term care as a result of service-related injuries qualify before all others. It is recommended that if you are a veteran, you contact your local VA facility to figure out what benefits are available to you. Medicaid provides health care coverage to lower-income Americans and pays almost half of all nursing home costs. Medicaid pays benefits after a person has spent down his or her own assets to federal poverty guidelines. When on Medicaid, one's choices become limited, and the focus of care is institutional rather than home or community care. Remember, Medicaid was created for the poor, not for those who have over a minimal level of income and assets. The Deficit Reduction Act of 2005 makes it even more difficult to qualify for Medicaid. The look-back period for transfer of assets is now 5 years and starts when an individual becomes eligible for Medicaid. Is spending down all of your assets to qualify for Medicaid a palatable option for you? Imagine needing to pay over $9,125 a year indefinitely for uncovered health care expenses. How long could you pay before doing significant damage to your savings? And how would these additional expenses affect the estate you wish to leave your family? And what if both you and your spouse needed care? If you plan on using your income to pay for care, what does that actually do to the lifestyle of a spouse? So if you plan on using assets to pay for care, what does that also do to your income? A long-term care plan ensures that your financial plan executes the way it was intended to, and that's to pay for retirement, not for the long-term care expenses. And many people think long-term care insurance is just too expensive, but it's really the long-term care cost that is so expensive. The premiums you pay are a fraction of the cost of the care. And doesn't it make sense then to transfer the risk of long-term care to an insurance company, just as we do for short-term health care, for our cars, and for our homes? These benefit triggers are uniform for long-term care carriers. Most carriers require that you provide a letter from a healthcare professional certifying you need help with 2 of the 6 ADLs that you are significantly cognitively impaired. Long-term care premiums can also vary significantly depending on one's age, health status, and coverage levels of the policy. Premiums can range from $1,000 per year to several thousand per year, and it is beneficial to pay for long-term care insurance premiums by using dividends or interest on your savings. Also, you might think of spending 1% or 0.5% of your portfolio for long-term care premiums to protect the entire portfolio. Some people prefer to keep premiums low by transferring part of the risk instead of all the risk to the insurance carrier. So there may be many creative ways to pay for long-term care insurance. Some people hesitate to purchase long-term care insurance because they don't want to pay the premiums for something they feel they may never need. But linked benefit solutions provide a death benefit if the policyholder never needs long-term care. In addition to liquidity, there's a guaranteed return of the premium if you want your money back. And these products, however, are for higher net worth people who have the ability to reposition a large sum of cash, like money from CDs, money market accounts, and so on, into the single premium policy. We have access to highly rated long-term care insurance carriers with us here at Commonwealth, and we would only recommend carriers that have many years of experience in this business, an excellent history of paying claims, and strong financial reserves. Additionally, your specific needs will be considered when evaluating carriers. Certain carriers may offer features and benefits that you prefer or may provide appropriate underwriting for your health issues. And as well, long-term care may not be appropriate for everyone, but we believe that everyone needs a plan for long-term care. Denial can be very strong, and maybe you will never actually need long-term care. But if you do, the impact on your family and finances could be catastrophic. Therefore, it's important to discuss a plan. For most people, transferring the risk to an insurance company will be the most financially prudent way to cover this potentially significant risk. I'd love to discuss the details with each of you about your specific questions and concerns. Don't hesitate to call me to discuss how a long-term care plan will work for you. Again, my name is Alex Corey with Values Quest, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.